Okay, welcome back. This is day 2, part 2. So let's open up the webpage and see what part 2 says. While it appears you validated the passwords correctly, they don't seem to be what the official corporate authentication system is expecting. The shopkeeper suddenly realizes that he just accidentally explained the password policy rules from his old job at the sled rental place down the street. The official corporate policy works a little differently. Each policy describes two positions in the password, where one means the first character and two means the second, and so on. Uh-oh, they're using like weird indexing, like not zero-based indexing. Exactly one of these positions must contain the given character. Other occurrences of the letter are irrelevant for the purposes of password enforcement. Okay, so basically 1 and 3 are indexes that are offset by 1. So let's just take day 2 and change this here. So how many passwords are correct according to this? So here is eval line part 1. Let's just code up an eval line part 2. Def eval a line, and I'm going to call this part 2. And I'll do some more doc tests here. So let's take this, throw this down here, change this to part 2. And is A in position 1? This is a false. No, this is true. A is in position 1 because 1 is 0. 1 is position 0. Okay, and then this one, B, C, D, F. This is false because there's no B in there. Okay, so let's get our ranges here. I'm going to say N1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this IDX. Well, we'll do N1, N2 is equal to get ranges. Paul says he likes the doc test. No, thanks. Yeah, when I'm writing code like this, for me, the easiest thing and the least friction is just to throw a doc test in there and then go to the command line and test it. Alternatively, going to the REPL and testing it from the REPL works as well. I just find that I like having it in the doc test because it pushes me to write documentation, but I always have it there, which I find, for me, there's a little less, what should I say, friction than just running it from the REPL. I would say running it from the REPL is a good alternative. Writing a test is also a good alternative, like using unit test or PyTest. Yeah, I tend to use doc tests for quick and dirty things like this, though. But I also use them. I mean, I think it's great that you can throw in code and have examples in there. Okay, so let's get ranges from line. If I can type here. Okay, and then I'm going to say IDX index 1 is equal to N1. So that's going to be minus 1. And similar, IDX2 is N2 minus 1. So these are offset by 1. So we're just going to make them. And I'm going to say return. I need to get my character here. So I'll rebuild this from scratch here. So let's get our character here. Our character is in the middle and it is before the colon. So maybe I will write a little function to do this. And I'll use a regular expression because, you know, people think you need to use regular expressions for this. I've already shown up above how to get the character, which I think is probably how I would do it. But let's say get car here, and we're going to get a line, and we'll write a little doc test here, and let's throw in this in here. Okay, so this should return an A, and this should return a B. Okay, so in order to use regular expressions in Python, we need to use the RE module. I'm just going to do this from the command line here. So import RE. If you look on RE, there's all these options here. So there's generally what you want to use is probably something like match. Let's just pull up the documentation for that. Help re.match. Okay, so this says try to apply a pattern at the start of a string, returning a match object. So thing to note about match is that this right here, this is the start of a string, which may or may not be what you want. So just be aware of that. Alternatively, there's search. Let's look at search. Okay, scan through a string looking for a match to a pattern, returning a match object or none if not found. So I recommend that people don't use match generally and use search unless you know that you're starting from the start of the string, right? So let's just try this. I'm going to say that line is equal to 1 through 3, and let's see what does it look like. A space A B C D. A colon A B C D E. Okay, so here's our line, and I want to get that A off of there, the A from the A colon. So we're going to do re.search, and I'm going to pass in a regular expression. I think I'm passing in a regular expression first. I forget the order of that. Okay, pattern and then the string. Okay, so we're going to do re.search with our pattern. And our pattern, I'm going to use what's called a raw string. I'll put an R in front of that. And then I want to match a character. And so I want to match a character class. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to say match anything in front of a colon from line. Okay, and that matched that. So this is a group object. Let's just, I'm going to call this a GO group object or a match object. I'll call it an MO, a match object. So let's look at what you can do with a match object here. You have group and groups. Let's look at mo.groups. Okay, it's this, and there is the groups there. So groups, if you're not familiar with it, my regular expression had some groups in it. Groups are things that are following or inside of parentheses. And so it turns out that regular expressions grouping is another thing that's indexed based on 1 instead of 0. So you can find out, well, I guess it's not, well. So the first group here is, and there's only one group, you can just count the left parentheses here. So that is the A there. So I should be able to say, give me the first group there, and that's the letter. So that would be how I would do this with regular expressions, which I think is a little bit more involved than my little split version up there, but I'll do this here. So I'm going to say the match object is equal to re.search. I'm going to pass in a raw string. Always use raw strings for regular expressions. If you're not familiar with a raw string, it treats a backslash as a backslash character rather than an escape character. It does that because backslash is an escape character. Sorry, it doesn't do that. We use that because backslash is an escape character in regular expressions as well. So if you want to match like in a backslash, it's kind of annoying because you have to type backslash 4 times in a normal Python string to escape the backslash, so we're going to match anything inside or anything that is before a colon. And we're going to match that from line. That's going to give us a match object. And then we're going to return mo groups. And we're going to return the 0th group there. Okay. So this car is equal to get car. And we'll get car from line. Well, let me just run my test here, make sure that my test is working here. Python 3 day. Now note that my tests, I don't have tests anymore because I turned them off down here. So maybe I'll come up here and I'll add an argument call -t test, and I'll say test run doc test. And I believe I have to say like store is equal to true. Let's see, add action is equal to store true, I think. I think that's what I want. Action is equal to store true. Okay, let's just try this out. I can go check the documentation if I didn't remember it correctly. Let's see -h here, and so we'll say -t. Okay, so that's not doing anything because I haven't hooked it up here, but I'll come down here and I'll say if ops.test, and then what I'm going to do is just take that code there and plop that in here. And let's try this. Okay, and we got an error, RE is not defined because I didn't import RE. Okay, and I got some failures here on eval line part 2. Okay, and that's because this isn't working yet. Okay, so I'm not returning anything, so this is returning none, which is not true and not false. So we've got our index, we've got our character, and I just need to say that, so we could say line at index position ID X. So one thing I need to be aware of is I'm going to get like an index overflow here, probably. If I've got like a 9 and like a 2 through 9 and I don't have a password of length 3. I'm imagining I'll see that error, but let's just try that. Return line index 1 is equal to car, or line IDX 2 equal to car. $569, and this is still pointing to our old one here. So maybe I'll put another option here. And I'm going to do a -p option. And if I do this, I'm going to do run part 2. And this is going to be an action store true as well. And then I can come down here and say if ops.part2 okay, so I think now I've got a command line that will do part 1 or part 2. Let's do this. Okay, I actually didn't run into the error that I thought I'd run into. So there's no index error here. It's a shame. They should have put that in there to catch people. Okay, let's put in the magic number here, 537, and see if it works. That's not the right answer. It's too high. Okay, it did not work. Interesting. Let's see if I can figure out what's going on then. Oh, exactly one of these positions. So I'm not doing exactly one. And note that it's in bold here. Exactly one of these positions must contain that letter. So how do I check that? I'm doing an or here. So this or this. So what is that? So there's probably some like modus ponens, something I can do here. So I'll just do this and not this, or Yeah, my brain's not thinking this is not that, and that is. And instead of saying not here, I'm going to do a not equals, so these are similar. Okay, let's try this. Push this back up the hill. Syntax error. Yeah, I got a syntax error. Got that at the end there. Okay, 355. Let's see if 355 is the magic number. That's not the right answer. Your answer is too high. If you're stuck, are you sure? 355 is not the answer? Okay. Let's see what I'm doing then. Okay, let me just try this test here. Maybe this test is the one that I'm failing on. So I'm going to take this here and I'm going to put this into this. So yeah, this is the fun part where you get to see Matt flounder around here. Eval line, part 2, and this should be a false because it's in both places. Let's see if this works. So let's run -t. Okay, and we got true there. So my modus ponens is not working here. This is equal to car at this position, and this is not equal to car. Let's see this. So, I've got, here's my line, position 1 is equal to car. That's true. And this is not equal to car. And that should be a false. Index 2 is not equal to car. Or, so this should be false, and this should be false. So I'm confused as to why that's not not working. But I got 2 failures here. Part 2, 1 through 3, expected true got false. Okay, so I'm broken here somehow. A, B, C, D, E should be true. Okay, so let's debug this. I'm going to say like found 1 is equal to this. And I'll do a found 2 is equal to this, whoops, this line down here. And then we'll just print this out. Print line, and I'll do car, and let's just print out ID X1, ID X2, and found 1 and found 2. Okay, I'm just going to push up my test up the hill here, and let's see what we got here. Okay, I expected true here, and I got false and false. So false or false. Let me just put in false or false here. Not false, found 1 or found 2. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Eval 1, we got false, false, false. We expected true. Our character is A. So line IDX 0 and line IDX 2. That's weird. Okay. I'm just going to keep going here with my print debugging here. I'm not seeing it. Probably some of you in audience land are seeing it and are like, Matt, you're crazy. But let's just do this. Line IDX1, line IDX2. Now this would be a good place for PyTest. If I had PyTest here, this would be really easy. PyTest has a feature where I can drop into the debugger really easy. Maybe in a future episode, I will use PyTest to do some of these testing. Because what you can do is on a failure, you can pass in the --pdb option from the command line, and it will drop you into the debugger at the failure point, and then you can just inspect these. So I don't have to type out all these things that I'm typing out here doing this print debugging. Okay. So I got 1 and 3. Why did I get 1 and 3? Line IDX is 1 and the other one is 3? I am confused. 1 and 3, line. I'm printing the line. Oh, that's my, okay, my bad. It's not line. I need to look at the password. I didn't get the password. Okay, my bad here. So I'm gonna say password is equal to, yeah. This is the fun of live coding, right? And like, these are the sorts of things that are super annoying when you're like in an interview situation and they give you some whiteboarding task and you're like, I know this works. And then you're just like, oh yeah. And they like look at you like you're crazy. And then you figure out what you did wrong here. So I pause it now. Well, I'm going to cross my fingers and hope. I'm just going to push this up the hill here, but I'm going to replace line with PW. Okay, and let's try it again. Okay, my pass, that worked. 346. Let's look at 346 now. If I check the right thing, maybe it works. Yay, 346 worked. Okay. So yeah, there was my problem, right? And maybe print debugging would have helped me if I noticed that I was not getting the password. I was just pulling it off of line. Okay, awesome. Okay, so I hope that this was useful to you, showing an example of debugging, showing that, yeah, these sorts of things where people get confused happen all the time, right? And so things like tests can help make that easier. Using print debugging, using rubber duck debugging can help as well. In this example, we demoed a couple things. We demoed splitting these out using some of the string methods. We also demoed using regular expressions. Again, you probably want to use this search instead of the match here. And all I said was I want to find something in front of a colon. You could use a character class to match a character if you wanted to, but I wasn't sure whether that's numeric or if it was required to be an alphabetic character. So I just said whatever's in front of the colon, you could match that. You know, if we had to match, if it was multiple characters, we'd probably have to change the logic here since this would no longer represent an index there. And then we're just pulling off the groups. If you get a match, you will get a group. So one thing to be aware of is this will fail if there's not a match here. So we'd probably have to put some logic around this, because if this fails, instead of returning this MO match object, it returns none. So you'd have to have some error handling there. Okay. Hopefully this was useful, and I'm looking forward to doing day 3. Have a great one. Take care, everyone. Bye.